having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to turn to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else, chose you instead. I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. And got up in the morning, took a shot of Ciroc. And girl, you left my stomach in a knot. Took my lighter and you burned the bridge. Thought you was a writer, no, you just an idol. You got me feeling like Big Sean in this 5, 4, 3, 2. I deserve a minute, wait a minute. Gotta get up and over, regain my composure. No longer my lover, finally finished and you did it. Girl, you really showed me. Think with your heart, don't think with your body. Clever. Sorry not sorry, sorry not Justin Timberlake, write me a river. Lately I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to turn to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else, chose you instead. I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. You tried to convince me it was all in my head, and I felt like a statue was me instead. And I wanted to rock with you, roll with you. Said you was my baby girl, then you left me too. Everything was kosher, perfect like a poster. Then I got word that you wanna lead a picture. Off with somebody else, off with the jerk. With the shame on me, I really thought that it could work. Off with somebody else, off with the loser. Shame on me, I really thought we had a... Lately I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to turn to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else, chose you instead. I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else, chose you instead.
Yes, global greetings. Welcome to another edition of the Topics here on Real Entertainment Network. And it's another beautiful Tuesday evening, and we've got another exclusive edition of the Topics right here on Real Entertainment Network. Be sure to log into our Facebook platform, go on over to our YouTube platform and subscribe to the YouTube network. And we also stream simultaneously on Twitch TV as well. So we stream on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. And this evening we have our special guest this evening, Natasha Shanny Gray Brookes, and our co-host, our regular co-host, Shabazz Bankie King, and we are gonna, say good evening to all of the folks here in Oli and Layamiga, the indigenous names for St. Kitts and Nevis. The only two words it seems as if we have kept from then, and I think we should, do something to try to keep those names, and actually utilize them much more often. I subscribe to that, and we try to do that from this platform. To the rest of you in the rest of the entire Eastern Caribbean, especially the people in Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, who would have suffered through the hurricane that they would have experienced recently. We're still praying and we're still doing what we can to help you, and we're here with you in heart. Some of us are unable to be here physically to help, but whatever we can do, or prayers or blessings, and whatever we can send your way, we're here for you. Wherever you are around the world at this time, whether it's morning, evening, afternoon, one of these greetings would be applicable, whether you're in Russia, China, Africa, wherever you may be. It's a pleasure to have you locked in with us on another Tuesday evening for another edition of the Topics. With that said, Bankie, want to say good evening and give your introductory remarks, and then we get into our guests and give our guests an opportunity to do the same.
Yahsonn, good evening, and good evening to our guest, Mrs. Shanny Brookes. Greatly appreciate you taking the time out to spending this evening with us to have a little reasoning about your plans for the leadership of your party. Let me say thanks for those who chose in real entertainment to listen this evening. You could be listening to any media house, but you choose to spend your time with us. So we greatly appreciate that because you are the one who made this show possible. So we told you guys making your comments and giving the support. We wouldn't be exist. We're just speaking to ourselves. So definitely looking forward for the reason with our guest. Yahsonn, a lot to be learned. I mean, from what I understand, I mean, she's the first female leader of a major party in St. Kitts, and that's a lot because I myself have a lot of sisters and plus all girl children. So and always on the female side. So I'm biased when it comes to female. So that's just what it is. So definitely I'm in support of equality, and that's something I have a lot of appreciation for. So maximum respect to that. So definitely looking forward for that reasoning. So welcome again to all those who tune in. And remember to subscribe. Definitely we have a few shows a week time. So we definitely hope you not just tune into the topics, but tune into medicine for the people and also the Everything Agriculture show. And also you can also, if you have any small business and you want to advertise on Real Entertainment Network, definitely you can just reach out to Yahsonn or myself or Ira, and we'll make that possible. So again, thanks for choosing Real Entertainment Network and the topics. Mrs. Gray.
So I want to say good night to everyone. I want to say thank you to Yahsonn and Bankie. I really appreciate you for both of you for inviting me to join you on the topics tonight. I also want to say good night to the viewing and listening audience, wherever you are in whatever part of the world you are. It is my pleasure, my distinct pleasure to be here with you, because what I am is who you are, and who you are is what I am. I just want to really, really thank you again for the vital work that you do. A number of people from St. Kitts and Nevis, they listen to your show every week. I listen as much as I can every time I get the opportunity. And I recognize from what you guys have been doing that you have a real commitment to St. Kitts and
Appreciate
Nevis.
that.
I know sometimes you ask the tough questions, so I'm in the hot seat tonight. But
Not a tough question, man. And we appreciate those who tune in St. Kitts. Big up yourself. You just ask the easy questions them that the people want to hear. That's all it is. Yes.
But you have been doing a great job, and I must thank you for what you have been doing for our wonderful community.
We appreciate that.
It's an honor to introduce myself to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis who may not know me. I am Natasha Brookes, affectionately known as Shanny. I am, apart from being the leader of the People's Action Movement, I'm a wife and a mother of two. I have a 27-year-old son, and I have a 3-year-old daughter. And so there's a wide age gap between both of them, but I enjoy it. And for them and for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, I just want to see a future that is defined by opportunity for the people and good governance. So I holding the role as the leader of PAM. It is not just me as the first female political leader of this great party. It is not just a title. It gives me an opportunity to prepare our party to lead, not just lead as an opposition party, but lead this nation. I contested the 2022 general elections in East Bastia. I was not elected, but I won a number of hats on the ground, and I continue to connect with the people of East Bastia and throughout St. Kitts and Nevis generally, because I'm fighting for the needs and the concerns of people everywhere, and I do it every day. Whether it is in my work field, whether it is politics, just being a daughter of the soil. So first and foremost, my commitment is to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so I intend to use my position as the leader of the People's Action Movement to advance the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. I even in my political sphere, what I like to push is a people first agenda. We need to give opportunities to our people. We need to make sure that there is a path to a prosperous and secure future. And whatever avenues I can use, I will definitely do that. We may not all have the opportunities as some people, and we need to help to bring each other up, lift each other up. And so I'm ready to lead. I'm ready to continue fighting every day for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Whatever I do is for St. Kitts and Nevis. Ultimately, I'm using the vehicle of PAM to do it, but I'm using who I am as a person to push the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so tonight I intend to share wherever I can what my vision is for the party and the country by extension. And I really have an unshakable belief of the potential in every Kittitian and Nevisian. So whenever you're ready, let's start the hot topics.
Okay, so here's what, Bankie. Well, generally when we have a guest, we do take the time to do a little bit of research and give a proper introduction. So we did a little bit of that. We're going to share a little bio, so to speak, and you're free to correct if there's anything to correct, and that would kind of help to give, I guess, those who may not know you as well, a little bit more information about you, because a lot of times, sometimes when you do ask somebody to speak about themselves, sometimes they try to play it down a bit and don't really want to talk about all of, their accolades and so on. So we'll try to do a bit of that and let people know who you are, apart from being the leader of People's Action Movement. So Natasha Shanny Brookes, born on October 26, 1981 in Ponds Road, Newtown, East Bastille, St. Kitts, a prominent attorney at law, community activist, philanthropist, wife, and mother. She earned her LLB with honors from the University of Huddersfield in 2010, a postgraduate diploma in professional legal skills from City Law School, London in 2011, and a legal education certificate from Norman Manley Law School in Jamaica in 2012. Admitted to the Bar of England and Wales in July 2011, and to the Bar of St. Christopher and Nevis the following year. She serves as principal attorney at Gray's Legal Chambers on St. Kitts. Gray Brookes has been deeply involved in community service, founding the East Bastille Book Club to promote literacy and advocating for job opportunities, skill development, housing access, poverty reduction, entrepreneurial support, and crime prevention in Constituency 1 East Bastille. Her vision emphasizes expanding opportunities for higher living standards, social and political freedoms, and building a nation worthy of future generations, encapsulated in her motto, "It will not be done unless we do it." In politics, she is joined by the People's Action Movement, PAM, serving as General Secretary since April 2019, before being elected unopposed as its first female political leader in June 2024 at the party's historic 58th convention, a milestone as the first woman to lead any major party in St. Kitts, running as candidate for Constituency 1. She positions PAM for federal leadership, focusing on principled governance, economic resilience, and challenging current administration. So that's who a little bit more of Shanny Gray. And like I said, sometimes people don't necessarily want to toot their own horn and so on, but we do have to at sometimes also still acknowledge, the work and the efforts that's been put out, apart from, the involvement in politics. And so if there's anything for me to correct, you can at this point. Bankie, I'm going to let you lead off if there's anything that you want to ask, but I'm allowing Miss Gray to correct anything if there's anything that
You
you
were
thought.
you were on point. I thank you for the introduction. I forgot to say that I was a lawyer.
You see? So, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes when people do talk, about themselves, we do. Sometimes not necessarily. It's not that, I guess sometimes we sometimes in our society feel like talking about ourselves is being boastful or things like that. But nah, we just got to give ourselves the credit and recognize if we have accomplished things, it's good to, put it out there. So, Bankie?
Thank you.
Yes, and her bio is very well intensive, and one of the things that I want to highlight is the literacy that she's promoting and stuff like that. Because I've listened, I think sometime last month or the month before, where in the high schools they were speaking where people are coming through high school and leaving school and not even can read it. So I don't really understand, as we say, over how can you go through a whole school system and it's like they keep putting you on, leading you, and then you can't even read. I mean, how is these things possible? And then they had a Bastia High School situation where the school has been closed down and it's been almost over a decade. I mean, this is something bad. Mrs. Gray Brookes, my question to you, let's say, I mean, your party won enough seats to control the government by yourself if you don't have to be a coalition government. Education is very keen to our people. And what you have seen have been done with the Bastia High School. School still cannot be built. I mean, and on the team unity, there was talk about nothing happened. Now in this government, there's more talk again and craziness. So, as the leader of PAM, as a young lady, and who passionate when it comes to literacy, and as a lawyer, what is your plan definitely when it comes to making sure a high school is either decide whatever your plan is when it comes to education, make sure proper high school have been built and make sure no kid is come to the crack way and can't finish school and can't read. How can these things will be possible?
Over the years, I've heard people say that Black people don't like to read, and I would not want to be someone who promotes that in any way at all. And so under my leadership, one of the things that has to be essential is reading. Bastia High School is dear to me. I went to the Bastia High School. I left what was then the Bastia Junior High School, and I went to Bastia High School, my alma mater. Now, as you said, it's been over almost 10 years, and we now see persons who have graduated hoping that they would have gotten a new Bastia High School under the previous administration, under this administration. This present administration, Dr. Shanny, he had a sign up where he lived speaking about not building the Bastia High School on the aquifer. We're now heading into a in the fourth year of our Labour administration. And you have to wonder whether or not the Bastia High School is a priority for them. What has been happening? Right now, if you drive up Victoria Road or Park Range, all you will see is high grass, no signs of construction. And so we need to ensure that we move away from political spectacle and we look at real progress for our people, for our children. We can't continue playing a political football when it comes to education. Education is something that will get the people who are not in a position to do things for themselves, get them from point A to point B. And why deny them that opportunity? Under my watch, being part of or forming the government on our own, whatever it is, I will not sit idly by, not just because Bastia High School is my alma mater, but because education is key. We need to ensure that we do better for our children, we do better for the youths, and we have to not only do it by the syllabus, but giving them a comfortable environment where they can learn, give them a comfortable system where they can choose options, and we can't have them in limbo, moving from one area to the next. It is too long. And I think as a female, as a mother, as a leader, it is time that I impress upon Dr. Hanley and his Prime Minister, Dr. Drew, that education must be a priority. Our children deserve classrooms built on competence and integrity. We don't want any more broken promises. So education is something that will be at the front for the People's Action Movement. We have to make sure that the Bastia High School is built. We don't care about who it was, whose idea it was. Education is not just a social service. It is the engine of national development. And so I would be pushing anything that develops our people.
Well, we on education, I know usually our young ones tend to go overseas for studying and inquire, put family and burden on student loans and high interest rates. I know this government has something with Development Bank, you get 5% interest rate. That's still too high in student loans. It's just too much. These are just like mortgage. What is your plan when it comes to student loans? When it comes to whether it's going to be 1%, but 5%, I still see these as is like house mortgage, especially come to students who go and human resource is your most important resource. And you got to make it much easier. When someone finishes college, they should be burdened down in paying large amount, or burdened on their parents. When it comes to being overseas, have to pay the interest and all this stuff. So how can you combat this and make sure it is much easier, less burdensome, and at least when they come back, work is available when it comes to this country go into the economy? How are we going to drive the economy? Because right now, the economy is really not moving forward as much as it should. So from student loans, how are we going to make it easier for our people, young people, when it comes to acquire these things? And then we're going to go into the economy.
Education, again, I said, is key. We have to start from a very young age. We have to be able to teach our children how to plan and how to save even before they go to college. But yes, I understand that some persons really have life difficult, and so that might not be a possibility. And so that is why we have these institutions, specifically our development bank, to help our children. We must give them that push and that step. We must be able to provide state funding where possible, grants, so that when you work and study, you get some assistance, so that when you come back from studies, you are not burdened with interest payments and loan payments. So we must focus. It's not about giving people free money, but giving people a hand up. We under the People's Action Movement. We are here to help. No, sometimes loans are unavoidable. I mean, I went through college, loan after loan after loan. The goal though should be to borrow as little as possible, so that when you take out a loan, it not only gives you the opportunity to study, but it gives you that cushion when you come out of college, come back from university. You have that cushion, so you can now start to see your way as a professional, see your way as a graduate, and not be burdened by loans. I can remember when I came back from studying, I was wondering, like, did I really went to study to be a lawyer? Because I felt that the majority of my salary was going to loans. I didn't feel like I did anything to advance myself as an individual, and we should not feel that way. There should be a cushion to help students. And as someone who went through the system, that should be a platform that we are going to push to be able to make smart borrowing something that, if you take a loan, it is not burdensome. As soon as you get back from college, you're supposed to be able to to elevate yourself and be able to maneuver your way through life. And so after graduation, we have to get interest payments that are very minimal, and so that while that person is in college, they don't have to be hurting their head about where they're gonna find the money to pay the interest, or if they have to go and work an extra job whilst they're studying. We have to make sure that we put a repayment program in place that softens the blow and allow people to breathe, allow them to have a benefit of going to study, so that it's not all about. So we must have a repayment strategy that after graduation can help people to basically find their way through the maze, and then live amongst their peers, live amongst their friends, live amongst their family members in a comfortable way, and then have a tiered approach in terms of repaying the loan.
I like the fact that you were able to put your personal experience into responding to something like that, seeing the need for something like that as well, because you would have gone through that. Bankie, I realized you said that we were going to get into the economic side of things. I have a couple of questions that would lead into,
Yes.
well, at least one would lead into that. But before I get into the questions, I see someone asking about the number to call, if we're going to be accepting calls. We will be, but we are hopeful that we would go through at least the first hour where we could have that conversation with the guests, and then we get in some of our questions, and then we would get into some of the questions and comments that are on the Facebook or the YouTube wall, along with your calls. So the numbers are sliding across the screen: 1-869-665-8459 or 1-869-662-7196. Those would be the numbers to call, or if you want to send a WhatsApp message, that might be a little bit more of a challenge as well, because we are, live here on the screen. But if you send it through, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, we do monitor more those platforms, and you'll be able to get your questions in. And we're going to try as much as possible to get in as much as possible, because like at the beginning of the program, without you, we would be here talking by ourselves. And so, your questions and your participation is very much, important to us. Ms. Gray, as we continue, okay, so what specific policies would your government prioritize to ensure economic resilience, safe streets, and prosperity for all citizens across St. Kitts and Nevis?
Now, one of the things that is my mantra, it's not just the people's action movement putting people first. I've seen it. I've not seen it all, but I've seen a lot during my short stint here on Earth. No, we have to empower our people. Our people are our greatest resources. Now, when it comes to empowering our people, we have to make sure that we give them the necessary opportunities, give them the tools to be able to build a life that they can basically help the future. It is not just about living for today. We have to look down the road. Now, housing is a big thing, because it's good to have a piece of the rock. Now, under this Labour administration, a housing revolution was promised, that there would be 2,400 smart homes, and we would get at least 600 a year. I live in East Bastille. From that housing revolution, I saw one house up at Taylor's. That was the model home. How do you build a community? And how do you build a community and not give them the opportunity to grow? how do you not give them an opportunity to be a homeowner? We have to move away from what currently is. We have to be able to empower our people by helping them to feel that they are part of St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, I would say, with no water in my mouth, that what is currently the state of play in relation to that housing revolution is a big disappointment, a failure. This administration has not carried out the necessary due diligence and transparency in relation to that housing project. What about empowering our local contractors? What about making sure that we partner with the tradesmen in St. Kitts and Nevis, the masons, the carpenters, the plumbers, to make sure that that housing revolution was actually something that came to fruition? That would help not just to make sure that we have something happening and our community is expanding, but you will have a construction capacity, because you will have our people demonstrating their skills and the money circulating within our economy. Now, one of the things also that we need to do when it comes to housing is to make sure that we prioritize. Yes, everybody wants to own a piece of the rock, but we have to prioritize some of our deserving citizens. And I'm not saying that we have a level of citizens, but sometimes, if it is, and I'm going to use myself as an example, if it is, I have a house and it is a house that has my son and my daughter in it. Not saying that when they are adults, well, my son is an adult, that they wouldn't want to have their own. But should they get priority over a single mother who is in a one-bedroom house with 4 children? No, they should not. We need to make sure that there's transparency when it comes to house to allocation. We need to make sure that we expand the land ownership, the ways and way that people can own land. Make sure that it's affordable and develop land. We need to empower our people by making sure that the homes that government provide are truly affordable. And so that's one of the things. We already spoke about education. In terms of health, the health of a nation, we always say the health of a nation is the wealth of a nation. I understand that currently what we have is the Joseph and Franz Hospital in St. Kitts and the Alexandra Hospital in Nevis. And we also have the Paxton Hospital in Sandy Point and Mary Charles. The plan of this present administration is to build a smart hospital. Now, we have seen that there have been a number of groundbreakings in relation to the smart hospital. I think the last thing I heard was that construction would start before the end of the year. Today is now the 2nd of December, and so we recognize that the year is almost at an end. So we have to work with what we have now, what we have currently, how best we can make what we have currently good for the citizens. We must make sure that there is adequate training for the staff. We must make sure that we are more compassionate to patients when they have to stay in the waiting room or the emergency room for 6-7 hours. Again, and it's not that I'm trying to use me as the prime example, but I don't want to put anybody's personal business out there. But a few months ago, I ended up at JNF. I went to JNF at 9 o'clock in the night. And it wasn't until 10 o'clock in the morning, the Sunday morning, I was admitted to the ward. We have to get better with what we have, because clearly the hope of building a smart hospital is is going to take some time. So what we have, we must have quality health care regardless of whether or not it's JNF or a smart hospital. We must have reliable infrastructure at those health cares. Fix the leaking roofs, fix the different things that need fixing. And I spoke to a young lady yesterday. I shared her GoFundMe page. But we have to make sure that citizens don't have this heavy reliance on public fundraising. It is sometimes very burdensome on families when they have to be able to try to deal with their medical expenses, and some people have to travel overseas because they feel that they don't have confidence in what we have here. And that is a sign of embarrassment and a failure of our healthcare system if people always have to run away to get medical treatment. So we need to be able to have that universal health coverage come to the fore as a right, a dignity in people being able to care for themselves, because we need to make sure that we look after our people in what way we can, and eliminate the financial hardship that many people. So health, housing, education, and empowering our youth. We have to make sure that as much as possible our youth are given the opportunity. Sometimes they feel neglected. They feel that it's only people of a certain age bracket get the opportunities. It's all well and good to say that somebody is holding a particular title. Holding a title is one thing as a young person, but can you now do a progress report and say, okay, because a youth held this position, we now have 40 more youths in farming, 40 more youths as contractors, 40 more youths as entrepreneurs over a year period. And so there is that building of your young population. Sorry, I know I'm rambling, so I would stop now
Yeah,
and
that's
allow you
fine.
to.
I mean, that's cool. Okay, let me go back a little bit where you mentioned well the youth, more youth in farming, and also can I drift something? But let me touch on the agriculture part in a sense, and also what I wanted to touch on before that is the part when it comes to the universal health care. Cause before the team Unity banded a lot about that and where they're gonna get money from and financing this, and if they're gonna make it be a tax where people put money into it. That is something which is key. I believe in a proper healthcare system. I mean, and I think we're at least 25, 30 years behind when it comes to a proper healthcare system with the amount of money have passed through our CBI and the sugar industry fund and stuff like that, and social security, where money have been lended to different organization. Where we at this point is really, really a sad case. So how would did this national insurance be funded? Where would your party seek funding to implement this, and how will it work in a sense that everyone can benefit for something like this?
No, it has to be a phased approach. You have to have consultation with employers, because not everyone is employed by government. But again, it's a universal healthcare, and you're looking at how best we can link payments to the service providers, whether it's the hospitals, the clinics, the doctors, and also look at how the funds can be pooled to be able to alleviate the burden on people. There has to be a buy-in. There has to be an education process to the citizens and residents, because when you look at the trouble and the struggle that some persons go through to raise 30,000 US, they deplete all their savings being able to care for themselves. You start an education process we consult with the population. We ensure that we get them to understand how a little buy-in into this project can help them to have quality care and better outcome as a patient. We don't want to heavily tax our people because, yes, we understand that right now the economy is something that is not moving. It's not moving, and people are finding it hard to even deal with basic necessities. However, we have to be able to show that an improved health system, access to health care, is something that we now have to look at as a necessity. So based on your salary, there can be a tiered approach in terms of how employers and employees can pool a sickness fund or a national health insurance fund so that it doesn't become too burdensome on an individual income. You will need the help of Social Security because they will have access to the majority of the employees' information in terms of how much they earn. And then you start to look at what percentage of our population earn a particular amount, and you look at what percentage you can now use of their salary to be able to contribute towards this health coverage. Have the discussions with the employers, especially those employers who employ a large number of people, and see if there's a possibility to have a compulsory contribution. It's not that you're trying to make it harder for the employers, but once you have that education process amongst the wider populace, then people would start to understand, and then we will see, based on the information that you receive from Social Security, how you can make it less burdensome on the population, on the individuals, and on businesses, because some people might see it as another tax, and if you see in terms of it being something that will improve the access to healthcare, and those persons who are at a higher bracket may have to pay a little bit more.
Right now we pay a tax for environmental tax levy for bringing in a vehicle and stuff like that, $5,000 and different stuff. Well, can that tax be go into the Universal Healthcare Fund? Because that money is not being used for anything. It's not being helpful in anything. That money is just been going into the consolidated fund. So can't that money solve most of the problem where those who don't have who are not working have them to pay into the fund? That for money that is used and goes towards the universal health care. I think that would be a much better approach.
That is an option as well, because you spoke about those persons who are not employed, because the universal health should not only be for persons who are employed. What about our seniors? What about our children who are under 18 years? How do you provide for them? And so there must be a mechanism to be able to provide for these less fortunate people, or these unemployed citizens of our federation. And so you said that the money is not being used for anything.
They can't see the money going for as far as they say Nevis. I mean, you can't see how we may help in the environment. The money goes into the consolidated fund. So this money. So you see,
maybe we need an assessment. Maybe we need to get an assessment in terms of that fund, that $5,000, the environmental levy, and see what have we collected over the past, let's say, 10 years, and how best look at the population and see how we can distribute it. What benefits? And because sometimes you look and when the car boat comes in, it seems like the cars increase, and so you could tell that the government is getting out of $5,000. So I think it needs a proper assessment in terms of what that money is being used for. If it's just sitting there, if it's not sitting there, well, then explain to us, the people, how it has helped our environment. And
quite
if
an
it's not
interesting perspective.
Quite an interesting
perspective. I was saying quite an interesting perspective in relation to that $5,000, and really,
yeah,
if it is used,
also,
it would be
there's still a housing levy. There's still a housing levy that is being paid, and then when we now get a house, you see what I mean? So those things could be used into something that benefit all. So it's just to restructure a lot of the taxes that is there. This thing is done in a rocket scientist, Huh?
And then you probably rename it if persons feel that,
of course,
it still can help the environment. We name it so that people can now see how it's benefiting our people.
Yes. Okay. Because if you're taxing $5,000 for one vehicle alone, Yahsonn, that money can even thousands can still go to the environment and use for the environment what it is used for, and the next percentage can go for you understand, the healthcare plan. It's just our way of structuring things right, and managing things in a way.
Where it comes down to also us really seeking accountability as well too, because I guess nobody really questioned that. We know that we paid $5,000. It's supposed to be for that, but in terms of what it really go towards, and how is there any way of saying, okay, we got $10 million this year from this environmental levy, and this $10 million was spent on X, Y, or Z. So maybe that's something that we need to really look into and ask a little bit more. Ms. Brookes, now, as Bankie, while he spoke, he said something in relation to he don't know about Syncits, but in Nevis this is not happening. I use that to get into my next question. How will you foster the unity between Syncits and Nevis under PAM leadership while addressing ongoing federal tension?
So when you say federal tension, tell me what you mean by federal tension.
Well, generally, that there's always the SSZ issue right now and the Destiny project. There's always that up in the air thing, the argument for fair share. I mean, so there was a point where Nevis, there's still a 113 possibility. So amidst all of that,
yes.
What would you do and how would you address that? And I'll include also, while you're on that, I guess you could speak to, if you being the leader, seeing that you're going to be more than likely the prime minister if you and your party wins. There is a federal office that is supposed to be the prime minister's office on Nevis. It is functioning. I did post something some time ago in asking if it is functioning. I did get some information. I was supposed to go back and repost the information I got, but I did not get to do it. I'm doing it live here. So it is functional, but in terms of the prime minister actually using it to come and visit and speak to the people of Nevis or make himself available, would you, if you are, prime minister, set aside, let's say, a day to be in that office in Nevis, and that at least once a week or once a month, or that people can come and the Nevisians can address the prime minister or come and have, so that. Let's go back to the first question though. I just added that into it. The question was, how will you foster unity between Syncits and Nevis under PAM while addressing the ongoing federal tension?
Okay. I think I mentioned it to a few persons. My mother is Kittitian, my father is Division. And for me, although I was born in St. Kitts, I think that in and of itself gives me a real push to keep St. Kitts and Nevis together. We need to build more national events. When I say national events, it's not that we don't have national events, but there must be some understanding, a shared understanding, how we have certain where we're going to host certain events, when it's going to be in St. Kitts and when it's going to be in Nevis.
Where you going?
No,
In
they
open?
in terms of the diaspora engagement, we recognize that we need to engage not just Kittitians in the diaspora, but Nevisians in the diaspora. Have a united front, encourage them to give back to the community. So you have a special event geared to Kittitians and Nevisians living in the diaspora and encouraging them to invest in their country. We could do an educational and cultural exchange. Now, sometimes I see it with different countries where students, let's say from St. Kitts, may have gone to Guadeloupe and vice versa. But we could do a mandatory exchange program in our high schools, whereby high school students, the teachers, and public servants allow them to live and study in Nevis, St. Kitts, so that they can build a shared cultural understanding and empathy, so that we don't feel like Kittitians are better than Nevisians or Nevisians are better than Kittitians, or anybody feels inferior, so that there is this continued people to people connection. We must have legislative and policy consistency, whereby we recognize that Nevis has some certain constitutional autonomy, and we must strive for consistency in federal legislation. And so we create a unified framework where international partners and investors think about St. Kitts and Nevis as a whole, not just St. Kitts for certain things, or not just Nevis for certain things. So we need to be a little bit more harmonized when it comes to our legislation. In terms of our infrastructure, we need to have a fair resource allocation, ensure that federal projects are transparently and equitably allocated, so that infrastructure is developed on both islands, and so that we prevent this perception that one island's needs are prioritized over the others. We have to do better as a people. And so I know there are some concerns. There have been questions over the years in terms of secession. They have in terms of fair share. I think you mentioned the issue just now of the SSZ. I heard the Prime Minister say that the issue in Nevis or Destiny has nothing to do with him. I don't understand how he could have said that, because the SSC is a federal law. It is a law that empowers the Prime Minister in relation to zones being developed in St. Kitts and Nevis, and he was the one who brought that law, that particular piece of bill, to the Parliament. So we have to be very careful when we say certain things, and I think we need to foster a stronger, more harmonious relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis, because it will definitely affect our economic stability, political unity, and our identity as Kittitians and Nevisians if we don't see the need for harmonization. Because even though the tension for secession has eased, it may very well come up if certain things don't go right with this SSZ, and so then you will have differences persisting between kitchens and divisions, and we need to have a unified approach. You spoke about the office of the Prime Minister being operational in Nevis. I'm not sure how often Dr. Drew goes and use that office, but when you are Prime Minister for St. Kitts and Nevis, you are a Prime Minister for St. Kitts and Nevis. It's just what it is. And so I can't say that being the Prime Minister, I will only look after St. Kitts. No, I look after the Federation, St. Kitts and Nevis. And so my responsibility would be across both islands. Okay, yes, we know national security and finance and citizenship, certain things fall under the federal law, but as a Prime Minister, I would need to conduct official business in Nevis and use the existing federal office or whatever facility is there to hold meetings directly, not just with the NIA, but with the ordinary man on the street. So just like how the Prime Minister's office here in St. Kitts accommodates Tom Brown from McKnight or Sarah from St. Paul's, the office in Nevis should facilitate and accommodate the young lady from Gingerland and anybody from Brick Hill, because we must recognize that although the head of the Nevis Island Administration is the Premier of Nevis, the head of St. Kitts and Nevis is the Prime Minister. And under my watch and my leadership, I will be a federal Prime Minister, not just a Prime Minister for St. Kitts, but a Prime Minister for St. Kitts and Nevis.
We'll hold you to that. We'll hold you to that. Trust me.
Okay.
And we do look forward to having
2nd of December 2025.
Yes, yes. We look forward to that kind of representation. And for the record, I don't think from when I got that call in relation to getting the response to the functioning of the federal office, I have not known of any visit from the Prime Minister to that office in any federal capacity to sit to address with, any Nevision public as you're talking about, and or maybe the opposition and or any other members. And so that's why I said I'm going to hold you to that and look forward to if you become the next Prime Minister. Now, we spoke about the SSZ.
Here, Yahsonn, just so that I can follow up myself, is in relation to the environmental levy and what it is being used for, and also the federal office in Nevis, so that I can now really see what it's just not just talking the talk, but I have to walk the walk, and I have to be able to report to say that this is not happening. And if it is happening, you give credit where credit is due.
Nice that you're taking notes. Wonderful. The topic now of the SSZ. The PAM has criticized the SSZ Act as a threat to property rights. What is your detailed stance, and what steps would you take to repeal it if elected?
No, the SSZ Act is something that we have to call it for what it is. I can't repeal it from being in opposition, not in Parliament. So the first step to repealing that act is getting into Parliament, not just as the parliamentary representative, but as the Prime Minister. Because I recognize that from I did a one woman demonstration last week. Some persons think that I needed more persons. No, I am standing for the people. And when I stand for the people, if I have to stand alone, I will. And when I need others to stand with me, I call them. And I begged the Prime Minister, and I'm not afraid to say so. I am not afraid to say that I begged him to repeal that legislation. And some people think this is politics. This is not politics. This is ensuring that the sovereignty of our people is maintained. What steps would I take right now? As I said, I'm not in government, not in parliament. And so my steps is to continue to agitate and push on behalf of the people that this particular piece of legislation is a bad one. It is fundamentally flawed. And if that doesn't work, the price will be paid, and I will have to take these steps in Parliament. And the next, just like how laws were repealed before, because as you see, the consultations are now happening. They're happening after the fact. And from what we are hearing, people from all walks of life are not in favor of the SSC. There are persons who are in favor of it, and maybe it has to be measured. Maybe it has to be measured, whether it is by a referendum or something, to show, okay, is it just the noise from a particular corner, or is it that people are really not for the SSC? No, I understand that we have to develop as a nation. I am not against development. PAM is not against development, but development must not be to the detriment of what currently exists. It must not be something that in the guise of sustainability. Yes, sustainability is a nice fancy word, but coming out of that act, did we hear what will be transformed, not just in the zone, but in the surrounding areas? What will sustainability look like for the ordinary man in Charlestown or the ordinary man in Bastille? And so there will have to be an immediate motion brought to Parliament once PAM gets into office, when PAM gets into office, to repeal that legislation. Bring a motion to Parliament so that we can restore federal oversight over particular things, our land, our resources, our development decisions. Give it back to Parliament, because the SSC gives it to the zone developers. And there must be, if there's necessary, we have to have clarity when it comes to until that. Sorry.
I have a follow-up question, right? For you, but I think what we're gonna do here, we're gonna take a small commercial break, and then I'll get back to you with that, and yes, I'll get back to you with that. So
Okay, no
the
problem.
technical team, we will get in with the commercial now, and then we would get back with a follow-up question for Miss Brookes, and also at a short point, also allow folks to call in after we have a couple more questions with you, Miss Brookes. So, technicians, take it away.
Summer heat, come and get your carambola, star food, make very nice drink. Come pick them yourself. The trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Mine's the last stop. A whole shopping bag for only $10. Half a shopping bag for $5. You get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to waste. Let's go, people.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
All right, and we keep it organic. That's how we do it, you know. We don't just talk about it, but we grow it and we ensure that our people get it. So, whenever you're in Nevis, be sure to stop off at Mansa's Last Stop right there at Kate's Bay and get your fresh. At this point, there's a lot of carambola as you hear advertising. Sorrel is going to be available in the not too distant future. Also, some bell peppers and tomatoes and cassava is available right now too. So for those of you who want to make your PAM or whatever it is that you make during the season, a lot of that is available. Yes. So back to the SSZ, a very touchy topic. Now though I asked about repealing, here is one of the funny things, or I shouldn't say funny, but I think one of the things that we need to seriously look at as a people, and I think based on the fact that seemingly they are trying to rush this through, we would have had an interview last week with the founder of the Destiny Project, and he highlighted there that he didn't want to have to go through 2026 without this being signed off. And then the day after, we would have had the press conference with the premier, where he highlighted in his press conference as well that he wants to wrap this up by the end of this month. As you spoke about the fact that based on your side now, if you become the prime minister, that is something that you would look to repeal. When we look at the SSZ and how it is formatted, the sort of buy-in and I should say demand in terms of the contract itself, the binding agreement, where it seems as if it doesn't matter who government gets in after this is signed. If it is signed, that it would be problematic for them. It would be sort of to, maybe this might not necessarily be the best example to use, but sort of like the prison project scenario, where after it was signed, the deal would have been done. And in terms of trying to fix it, it might be too costly for the country to look at even addressing it. Because we had a similar example in Honduras, for example, where it was a similar project and the government that was in, they were for it. But shortly after, there was another election and the new government came in and they were not for it. And then in an effort to try to break that, the government was sued by the developers and so on, and that case is going to be played out. So from your legal standpoint, have you recognized that implication, so to speak, for the people if this is a scenario, or am I reading through this incorrectly from a layman's standpoint?
Well, from looking at the legislation and the Destiny Project, is being described as one of the first SSZs, and so as the leader of PAM, I am not going to have a defeatist attitude, because if we are going to have a piece of legislation or a project that is going to make the public feel powerless, then something must be wrong. According to the Act, any project, any agreement that is agreed upon, it has to go through Parliament. So, are you going to tell me that something that is signed looks problematic for our people and our parliamentarians are going to agree to that? I don't think that anybody who puts our country through a legal battle, having to find funding for lawyers and or reimbursement, that is something that has to be carefully thought through. Now, I recognize that the Destiny Project is a project that is supposed to be done in Nevis. I heard about it wanting to sign off on before the end of the year. I recognize again that this year in December, we're almost at the time when there is budget in the federal parliament. Is this going to be on the agenda for parliament? Because it has to go through parliament according to the act. And so when we hear the Prime Minister and the AG speaking about the safeguards, is this going to bypass the safeguards? So then clearly something is wrong. Something has to be wrong. If it is, the act that was meant to provide a framework is being ignored. And
question.
This
I know.
never see. Oh yeah.
Yes. Well, this act was. I know when they had the first reading and they had the second and third reading within the same parliament, the members of in opposition, Mr. Harris and Mr. Richards, which is one of your team member, was not in parliament for act like this. I mean, I'm not sure if a reason was given why Mr. Richards was not in parliament to make his if he was against it to made his public speech and to how we feel about it and why it should not be. So how is that? How does your party relate to that? Because that is a part of your party. Then you're still speaking about it. So Mr. Richards, what reason why he was not in such a decision making with car? Either way this goes, whether it don't happen and when it if it happened, because right now there's a separation in where you have Team Jesus, those for the act, and Team Barabbas, and those who are against the act. So something like this, Mr. Harris have to be accountable for this, and also Mr. Richards, because this is something gonna affect both St. Kitts and Nevis. So how does you answer to that of something of this magnitude? Your party was not there to represent.
No, I am just going from my recollection. I think the first reading, Mr. Richards was not there. He was not on island. On the second and third reading, which would have been in August,
Yes,
half of the parliamentarians seem to have not been here. Imagine we have an act which is trumping sustainability, and the Minister of Sustainability wasn't there to debate the act. Dr. Richards was present. He may have chosen to stay silent, but that is something that doesn't mean that PAM should not defend it outside of Parliament. We have carried out as a party a rigorous analysis and assessment of that act. At legal team, we had a town hall meeting to dissect the act. And even though Dr. Richards would not have said anything in relation to the act in Parliament, yes, he has one vote. However, outside of his vote in Parliament, there are persons who are from different constituencies. My constituency number 1, 4, 2, 3, who are against this act, and we must speak on behalf of them. So it's not to say, well, okay, he didn't say anything, so the SSC Act went into Parliament. What about those who said something for it? I can't speak to Dr. Harris's silence on it. I don't know why he might not have said anything. But the act right now, what we need as a people is action. We need to focus on ensuring that we prepare a legislative pathway to repealing this act. And it's not just to say repeal it because PAM wants it repealed. And I keep saying this is not about politics. This is not about politics. This is about demanding answers for transparency. What was so important to have an act within a space of 14 days? come through the parliament. What look at the effects, the ripple effects now. Okay, the AG said that it is a small piece of legislation, couple pages. We're now in December. This act was passed in August, and the public outcry is getting louder and louder. You're hearing from the Chamber of Industry and Commerce. They were not in Parliament, but they're speaking on behalf of the people. You're hearing from the Attorney General's father, a King's Counsel. He was not in Parliament, but he's speaking on behalf of the people. I was not in Parliament, but I'm speaking on behalf of not just the people in East Bastia. I'm speaking of those who are affected in and outside of St. Kitts and Nevis. I don't want us to get sidetracked. I understand what you're saying. I don't want us to get sidetracked in the fact that, okay, Dr. Richards might not have said anything. Dr. Harris did not say anything. Okay, fine. Let's say they had voted, both of them, in relation to the act. The two of them may have been outnumbered if there was a full count in terms of the parliamentarians. They may have been outvoted.
I understand that. I am fine. I understand that even if he had said something, even though, and all the other represent parliamentarian who wasn't there also were they overseas, whatever reason, it was not even a good look either. So I'm not excusing anyone who didn't, who was not even there either, because they all should have been there for such a good act, and there was no reason to rush this without public consultation, because this is something, as I said, going to really affect generation to come. Either way, the people in Nevis are already divided by this thing, and I'm sure the people in Sing it also. So either way it goes, it's not going to bring the people will remain divided. This is one thing that I see. Every day, people come speak to me, I get messages. People are in Nevis are divided over this. This is something not going to come back. Either way this goes, what they go for. Yes, son.
There's something I want to interject here as well, too, right? I mean, yes. As much as I understand from Ms. Gray Brookes that the party eventually would have taken or presented their stance, I would want to critique. This is my personal critique, that I think that you guys took a bit too long to come and respond to this. The first one, though, I want to address is I don't think we should take too lightly the fact that we do have elected parliamentarians, whether it's opposition or in government, that does not necessarily go there and represent the people, because at the end of the day, they are also being paid just like the sitting government. The opposition elected officials, they are being paid, and they have been elected by a set of people who expect them to go there and speak on their behalf. And so, yes, they may be outvoted, but at least hearing from them, because in some cases, some of them are very good debaters, and they are able to bring across certain points that persons may not have really even looked at or consider. So their presence and their active role in that setting, because to me, even if they don't do anything else, they should represent there, because that is like their job. Even if you ain't do nothing else and go out for the rest of the year, go in there and representing. I mean, that, and this is my personal view. So this issue, I think, it has brought a lot of people, and I think it's going to cause a lot more people to pay more attention to even things like the budget reading and parliaments and so on, which is good, which is pretty good. So I just wanted to interject that as my personal critique. It was not necessarily because he said that about Sean, but it's just, for me, how I see it nationally on Nevis the same way, and I see it federally the same way. That all parliamentarians, those, whether you're the opposition, and especially the opposition to me, because we expect from those who we elect and who are in there, but then sometimes some of us don't realize that the opposition are paid too, and it's their responsibility to go in the house and speak on behalf of the voiceless.
Yahsonn, we're getting some text and we get and open the phone lines and getting some of the texts
yes,
before and then
I was
phone
just
line
about to
after.
say that. I was just about to say that we have the lines open. So if you want to call in and weigh in, we do have a lot of messages on the wall as well, that we would like to get in. Okay, there's a lot of comments. But there was one that spoke to in the next election, would seek to rejoin forces with PLP and CCM. If that presents itself, especially based on what's going on right now, and if there's a need for you to team up to get rid of, so to speak, or to stop the SSZ, or to stop the Destiny Project. What's your position in relation to that?
Okay. Now, in relation to teaming up with PLP or CCM, that is something that we will have to be governed by in relation to what the people are saying. My focus right now, as the leader of PAM, is to ensure that PAM represents and connects with the people. And I have no particular relationship in terms of one way or the other with PLP or CCM, because at the end of the day, we are all political parties, and well, that's what I think. We are all endeavoring to hold public office. Um, if it is we have to join up with a party, Pam Pam has clearly outlined their position in relation to the SSE. We don't, yes, unified voices can help to strengthen the argument against the SSE, but where we have to take the lead, we will. When it comes to addressing the flaws of the legislation, we will. When it comes to going out on the street, we will. We don't have a difficulty, because at the end of the day, as I keep on saying, this is not about politics. This is more about the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. This is about the sovereignty of our country, of our federation, of ensuring that powers that the government should hold are not pushed off to some zone developers, are not given to persons to deal with as they see fit. And so this is not about politics. This is about saving St. Kitts and Nevis. And that should be my priority as the leader of PAM. I'm not seeing this as, okay, I'm joining up with anybody. I'm seeing this as the leader of PAM, as someone who says they care about the people. You have to show them your actions. It's not about talking now anymore. It's not about saying, okay, oh, this person has the same view as you, and this person doesn't have the view as you, so you're for or against. This is about taking the lead and making sure that your voice is heard, whether you are saying it in a chorus with others or by yourself. So as for me, as the leader of PAM, the SSC, it's causing division in our federation. And it is clear that it is problematic. And yes, the People's Action Movement have joined alliances with different political parties, CCM, NRP, PLP. But during that or those coalitions, the PAM has always been a strong force, not just in terms of seat count, but in terms of some of the things that the Federation has benefited from. But right now, we recognize that it's not just PAM who's speaking about the SSC. Some persons, as they say, and I take the criticism. Some persons may have said that, okay, PAM waited too late to say anything, or PAM did not speak loud enough when they started. Now, when I, as a leader, recognized that the extent of this piece of legislation, I would say it was more or less the end of August. I will be very honest. More or less the end of August. And
Okay,
I started
but
to go ahead.
but in terms of like basically what you're saying though right now, you guys would have teamed up with anybody with almost every other party. If for this election coming, you are open. You're still sort of like open to working with whoever in the next election, or you have you fielded all of your 8 candidates on
In relation
syndicates already?
In relation to all 8 constituencies, we are actively engaging persons who have shown interest in all 8 constituencies. And yes, we understand. We understand that we've been in coalitions before with different political parties. However, if that is not what is something that the people desire, then it is something that we will have to consider. But
How
whatever
many seats
decision,
do you have? How many seats do you have fielded right now?
right now we have only confirmed 1, 2, and 4, and we have Dr. Richards, who is the parliament. So we have 4 confirmed at this present moment. So we have I will say boldly, there are 3 persons who are interested in constituency number 8. There's 1 person who has given interest in number 3. And as you know, I don't know if you know, have heard our deputy political leader, Lincoln David Pell. He still expresses interest in number 7. And at some point in time, hopefully before the end of the year or coming into the very beginning of January, the party will have to make a decision in terms of the candidates, because people want to see what PAM looks like. It can't just be Shanny and 2 others or 3 others. It has to be a team. And the more and more you speak to people, whether it is on SSC, whether it is on housing, whether it is on employment, whether it's on anything, they want to see PAM. They want to feel PAM. They want to hear PAM throughout all the constituencies. And so you're getting a feeling from people that they really want PAM to feel all 8 candidates. So that is something that the party is going to have, because as a political party, we have to focus on making sure that we can win a government. Within a government, the majority that is required is 6 seats. So who's going to field less than 6 seats and they can't form a government? You have to at least try to get the majority. So if persons continue to insist that this is what we should do, then we will follow the voice of the people. This election is not about PAM. This election is about St. Kitts and Nevis right now. This is one that is for the people.
Okay. While we wait the callers, a quick question. I would require a quick response on this one because I'm going to move into a different topic. But
okay,
would you be willing to field members on Nevis for the 3 seats on Nevis? We have not really seen that, but it's a possibility. Is that something that have ever crossed your party's mind, or?
I would say a few persons asked me about that since I became the leader. PAM has not operated in Nevis for a long time. They have mainly contested the 8 seats in St. Kitts, but that doesn't mean that we cannot look at the option of fielding candidates in Nevis. But does Nevis have an appetite for persons outside of CCM and NRP? I'm not too sure. Is it something that would really resonate with the people? That is something that you will have to hear from Nevisians in terms of whether they would like to see parties outside of CCM and NRP. I think last election somebody ran independent, if I can recall. I'm not, or there was I can't recall. I think there was a female who may have ran independent.
Nevis?
Or she.
And there was a next party. There was a next party there with Sam Keynes and Miss with Pat. Yes.
But our plan is not to divide the division vote by fielding our own members, but we are more about uniting St. Kitts and Nevis. We're not about trying to divide the division vote or divide Nevis further, because we believe in unifying people.
Gotcha. Okay. How do you envision agriculture, including the emerging cannabis sector, where the Medical Cannabis Authority playing a pivotal role in St. Kitts and Nevis economy in the future? So how you envision agriculture and include, because cannabis is now part of the agriculture sector in relation to the medical cannabis side of things. How do you envision agriculture and the cannabis playing a pivotal role in the St. Kitts and Nevis economic future?
The cannabis industry, it can represent a significant opportunity to diversify our economy. We have the traditional sources, the CBI, the tourism. And even though we speak about agriculture as a federation, I don't think that we have given it the necessary attention that is required as an industry that can basically build our economy and help people to generate revenue and new ways. In relation to the cannabis industry, I think we must focus on establishing St. Kitts and Nevis as a reputable regional hub for medical and wellness industries of the cannabis, and give our people, not somebody from Europe or Canada, give our people an opportunity to create higher value jobs. Yes, we might attract foreign investment, but let's try to create a market that builds local ownership. We must prioritize local participation and ensure that the licenses and the cultivation and processing are structured in a way to create wealth and opportunities for our citizens. It can't be for the foreign entities or for the foreign entities alone. And so we need to, in doing that, establish a framework before upscaling the industry. Establish a framework where that covers everything when it comes to the standards of cultivation, purity, to protect the industry and the distribution. And we must make sure that there's social equity, address the historical wrongs when it comes to cannabis prohibition. And that means, yes, there are opportunities to expunge past criminal records, but we must make sure that citizens can fully participate in this legal industry and society. And in terms of capital, do our people have access to capital whereby they need to provide the mechanisms to get low interest loans, to ensure that our communities and our individuals have genuine access to the capital and expertise so that we can get the grade that is necessary to deal with what we need to do. And so I believe the cannabis industry holds promise, immense promise, but we must make sure that there is a commitment to equity in our community, and make sure that the industry is one that empowers our people, not burden them with fines, not burden them with licenses fees, and it must be one that enhance our reputation. So I view agriculture not just as an activity, but something that can help to boost our the percentage of GDP that it can contribute to. So because we have a high food import bill, and so now by using the cannabis industry, we can now help to make agriculture something that is more viable and create opportunities for people.
Ms. Brooks,
While you touch agriculture,
Bankie,
go ahead, Yahsonn.
what I wanted to do, right? I wanted to make sure let Miss Brooks know that she's sounding very good with her responses, but when she becomes the prime minister and she's not doing what she's supposed to, we're gonna come back with these clips. So I'm gonna hold her, I'm gonna hold her accountable. So I'm gonna have these clips recorded for that time. I'm putting you on the line.
I think that is something that I admire your show about, because people must not just talk because they could talk. And yes, if you fail, you must admit your wrongdoings. Say yes, I fall down. I didn't do what was expected of me. And so I am glad that you are holding me to the task, holding my feet to the fire, so that when I slip, definitely. I have somebody to push me up.
Definitely. Bankie, I have one more question, and I'm gonna leave Miss Brooks with you. And not like that, but I'm just saying, so I'm gonna give you the opportunity to ask other questions that you may have. But before I get into that question, I just want to remind our listeners to like and subscribe and share. Go to our YouTube platform, look for Real Entertainment Network, like, subscribe, and share. Facebook, we do have a huge following on Facebook. That's one of our biggest spots. But with the videos, Facebook has started to remove the videos after, I think it's 30 days or 60 days. So we try to encourage a lot of our people to go to the YouTube platform where the videos are stored for a much longer time. So if you want to go back and if you want to pick out that clip, from Miss Brooks, you can go back there and you can find it and, okay. So with that said, my final question, so to speak, I'm changing the conversation again. I'm out of agriculture now. I asked this question to Mr. Gums when he was here, but seeing that you're a lawyer as well, it's an issue that I have taken up for a couple of years now. And let me ask, so what is your view on the NIA's refusal to share the taxable and the VAT revenues as mandated by the Constitution? Let me emphasize the Constitution, because as far as I know, the Constitution is supposed to be the highest law of the land. And how has this breached federal agreements? Because so the question is, what is your view on that? On the NIA's refusal to share the taxable and VAT revenues as mandated by the Constitution. From my vantage point, I see that as the highest paid people in the land and those who we hire to represent us breaking the law and getting away with it for a number of years. I don't know if that is your position and your view, and if so, why not? Or what would be necessary for taking it to where it should go in terms of somebody taking it to court or taking the government to court for doing that? Is that possible?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if a conversation has been had with the NIA in terms of the sharing of the VAT, but I think it has to start there. It has to start there in terms of.
Sorry. No. I laugh because of a comment. I said the NIA's refusal, but the comment went to specify and say CCM refusal because it was done under the CCM government. I guess this is where the politics come in sometimes because the VAT, the tax sharing revenue was stopped by I think Premier Vance Amory under his watch, and I think the VAT sharing was stopped under um, Premier Brantley's watch. And so I guess it's all CCM. So I guess that's why I kind of smile. So sorry, you can continue responding. Sorry.
Okay, you see why it is important to have that office operational from the Prime Minister in Nevis, because these are questions that can be asked using that office to find out what are the issues, what are the concerns, where has the NIA fell short, and is there something that the federal government has done or have not done to be able to allow what the constitution allows? And so, as the political leader of PAM, I am not for anything that is against the constitution. And so we must resolve those issues. There must be transparency and a clear understanding between the NIA and the federal government. And so I know the Constitution speaks about proceeds of all taxes collected in the Federation, how they shall be shared, etc. And so we must look at what broke down, what caused the breakdown, and it must start with a conversation. So if those conversations are not being held, they're not, the hard questions are not being asked, then they should be asked. They should be asked so that persons can understand what is required of them. And so the federal government and the NIA needs to have a better understanding of what is required of them. And if there is a conflict, then they need to address it because we have to ensure politically that build the trust, not just of the elect, but amongst ourselves. There must be that trust and transparent equity. So I think it is about those conversations are held, and if being held under the Labour administration with the NIA, then the PAM under my leadership those conversations.
So I was going to ask, because that's a follow-up question. If PAM leads, what immediate actions, legal, parliamentary, or diplomatic, would you take to enforce revenue sharing and address this high-level constitutional violation?
Well, we have to look at the revenue flows from both the NIA and the federal government, and we have to look at negotiating a transparent formula, not a political one, a transparent formula, so that all shared revenue streams are carried out in the manner that we look at, and we implement full transparency. We have freedom of information and legislation. We ensure that financial dealings of the federal government are brought to light. Financial dealings of the NIA are brought to light, so that there is an end when it comes to suspicion from either side in manipulating numbers, in forcing the administrations to operate in secrecy. We make sure that transparency is something that is not just a buzzword, and so there will be more greater accountability, not just to the different administrations, but to the people of the federation. And I think once you keep the people at the forefront of everything, then there would be no breakdown in faith. There will be no refusal to share tax revenue or fair share. And so a PAM-led government will mend that faith by guaranteeing that the NIA and the federal government has a fair and transparent relationship that ensures financial stability for both St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay, Bankie, I'm gonna let you.
Okay, well, we're at the financial part. When it comes to money, let me bring in VAT. I, for one, have an issue with the VAT system. Why are we paying 17% in this time when we really don't even owe the IMF or and even spend money that was proposed by the IMF? So why are we really still spending 70% VAT, or not even saying we have a VAT of whether it's 3% across the board or anything? But the 70% is really, really, really too high. I mean, the premises are dropping us at 13%, still too high, and it's still not even paying 13%. You gave the little half VAT when it comes to Christmas times for big businesses to make a whole heap of money and inflate prices and stuff like that. But what to say, what will PAM do when it comes to the VAT? Because this is something really killing people, and also that $5,000 environmental levy that is being collected, and people can't see where the money is going. So how is that is a serious issue with all these millions of collecting, and you can't see how it is benefiting, even fixing roads and all this different stuff and here and there. So what will you do different when it comes to these two tax that is collected?
No, the VAT came in 2010. I was really looking forward to a reduction in VAT during this Drew-led administration, because that was a campaign promise in 2022. And I know we had a temporary relief this year of 30%. And as you rightly said, the 30% and all, it's high. Now, as we also recognize that the economy it's moving at a snail's pace, and so we have to find the necessary formula to be able to permanently lower the standard VAT rate to a level that provides significant relief to our people, give consumers more spending power while maintaining.
But we was never paying VAT. So why are we still? They introduce it temporarily, but it's there permanently. So
they introduced it in 2010.
Yeah, and it should have been temporarily, but now it's permanently. So why nobody want to withdraw it? That is the issue. Are they not bringing? Yes.
Maybe we can start on expanding first. Well, there are some zero-rated items. Expand the list. Expand it to include necessities that Tom and Joan from Through the Alley is going to buy, and so that you not just cover the over-counter medicine and the school supply, but the building materials, anything that is going to directly impact our people and reduce the cost of living, the cost of having a home, the cost of having a family, the cost of having a vehicle. Now, I understand what you said about these VAT days, because some people look at them as gimmicks. Because although they provide temporary relief, and temporary relief in chaos sometimes, because sometimes people have to stand up hours in the lines, you have to approach it now from a structural way that will lower permanent rate. Now, I understand what you're saying in terms of why are we paying it, but then you also have to look at, okay, what percentage does it generate in terms of the revenue, and how best we can look at applying it to certain things that don't affect the ordinary man and woman. And I'm not saying that it's okay to tax persons who are here for luxury benefits or whatever, but you have to look at it they have a pragmatic approach in terms of how you can pick up. If you're going to charge VAT at a lower rate, how you can pick it up, but you must provide relief to those who are here living 365 days a year. How best you can think in terms of the environmental levy. No, we have to really look at in terms of reforming this. I know you spoke about it in terms of seeing if it can help with the universal health care. So are we going to remove it completely, or divert it for better use, but still reduce it? So you have to see how best we can help the people in terms of lowering the taxes. But if it is we are now going to dedicate it for health, it might eliminate the need to have it termed as an environmental levy. Looking at a tax that helps the health sector and ensure that the necessary access to health is properly funded. So we have to provide maximum financial relief. As a party, we have to provide maximum financial relief to our citizens, but we also have to strengthen the sustainability of health and environment. But I think we can approach it in a way that reduces the tax burden, but it requires persons, technocrats who have expertise and who can be able to show that Ministry of Finance, you need to allocate this here and change it from here to there, so that it is less burdensome on our people, but it still provides a level of relief, because our health and our environment has to be looked after. But at the same time, if we're going to tax our people to death, we're going to find ourselves in problems.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to touch on is where you touch on cannabis is agriculture in general, because cannabis is one thing, but food, as you mentioned, food import bill is over $200 million and keep climbing. And then by introducing this SSZ, that they want to import 10,000 families, which means you can call it 40,000 people or more, unlimited amount of people. Well, this is definitely going to change the 20 by 30 agenda, which is 2025 have moved to 2030, is more food import, because they not even touch that part of it. But my thing is, anyone you speak to when it comes to the agricultural sector, whether it's a fisher folk, agro-processors, crop or small or large ruminant, finance is always a main thing. Young people touch on that, and we will encourage to get into agriculture. But how do you want to encourage them to get into this thing? Because currently, I can't go and say I need at least $100,000, $200,000 loan to invest in my farm. All the investment after have been done is just for myself, within any assistance. You see what I mean? You can't have access to 0% loan, 1% as a farmer or anyone in the agricultural sector. So what are PAM plan on doing when it comes to driving the economy and putting real investment when it comes to the agricultural sector as budgets? The little measly budget agriculture is just, Nevis has a budget just passed the just $17.7 million. I mean, that's like a wage bill right there. Is no injection when you have a food import bill over $200 million. Why we cannot have at least $100 million in Nevis in agriculture for machineries, small loans, grants, and different stuff like that, and sink it at least at $200 million. Agriculture is not about talking. In the 80s and beyond, St. Kitts Nevis used to feed the Caribbean. Nevis alone had over 1,000 acres of just coconuts alone, over 7,000 heads of cattle and stuff like that. That is when we were in agricultural sector, but we have shifted from that now into land, real estate, tourism. What is PAM plan to really diversify the economy when it comes to agriculture?
As a government, we would need to work with the local and regional financial institutions, if possible, like the Caribbean Development Bank, so that we can create specialized low interest loans and grants for people who want to invest in agriculture, so that there can be capital investments. Now, you have to have land security for our farmers. Some farmers are leasing lands for years without any title. And so if there is security of tenure, it encourages farmers to make large-scale capital investments, and then it also gives them a level of collateral to approach banks. Yes, we would like them to get grants and low interest loans, but if it is they want to do something on a larger scale, they now have collateral, they have backing to be able to secure funding. Funding has been a problem for a number of farmers, and we need to give farmers access to funding. The incentives, okay, let's go back to the SSZ. There's a part that speaks about concessions. Okay, but what about our farmers? Our farmers have been here. They have been here for however long. Sometimes they come from generation to generation. Somebody take over their father's farm, their grandfather's farm. What concessions are there for them? Yes, okay. You might say, okay, they can get some seedlings here and there, but okay, what about the duties and the taxes when they import some of their machinery? How are we going to be help? We have to help them. We have to ensure that there are incentives that can help them to deliver quickly and feed our nation. As you said, I mean, in the 80s, I was a bit younger, and so I know my mother, my grandmother would have benefited. My grandmother is one of those persons who, I think you call them Tonhana, maybe Tonhana, I think that's what they used to call. And she would buy provisions from different people, and she would sell her fruits and stuff on the veranda. So I understand what it is to feed a family, or to benefit from a family being fed from the agricultural sector. So we must don't treat agriculture like a hobby. Don't treat it like something that you do in your spare time. We must make sure that the agricultural sector is one that is driven for profitability. Technology. I mean, what used to happen 20 years ago may not be the same thing now, because there are advancements in technology, and we have to meet our national food demand, whether it is 13,000 in Nevis, 40 in St. Kitts, and if there's any growth to our population, we have to cut down that food import bill, and we have to empower our people.
I know you mentioned the Caribbean Development Bank when it comes to low interest loans, but Christopher Harbour just gets 16 million from our national bank. Why can't these things be done when it comes to agriculture? The CBI, they gave it, the next 60 million to Christopher Harbour, a failing institution for over 20 plus years, has said they're going to bring over $17 billion of investment. Where they come and bring here is debt and owing bills to SCELEC, to water department, and yet the National Bank is giving them loans. So why can't PAM use that same institution to provide loans as this government now is using to give to Christopher Harbour that failing? These are what our people want to see. We are using our money to give failing institution, just like this SSZ coming here. They're going to go into the CBI selling passport, and it seems like it's an unlimited amount. So I would like to know what shares is given to this project that's supposed to be proposed in Nevis. So why can't agriculture get the same opportunity to get large amount of money from our national bank, from our CBI? Why we're not taking this road?
You know, I agree with you completely, Bankie, because I think agriculture does be treated, the department and the sector does be treated like a stepchild. You get the scraps and the dregs, and whereas we do bailouts, so to speak, for Christopher Harbour and these kind of things.
Yes.
And so we must change. We must change from what we do, what we currently do. We must look at ways to you see, it's because sometimes I think we take the people out the picture. You take the people out the picture, and all the glitz and glamour fool some of us. You need to develop a sustainable, diverse economy, and it starts with food security. It starts with ensuring that people can have that level of trust, that opportunity to be able to get funding and to get the resources and to help with their management of their businesses. Yes, it's long time we move away from sugar, but there are other opportunities. Why not help? Why not help Yahsonn? Why not help Bankie? Why not help Troy? Why not help Moses? Why not help these people who want to feed our people? So you have to
Miss
invest. And
Gray,
I think
hold a second. We have a call. We have a call coming in.
okay.
Caller, good evening. You're live.
Hey, good evening. I just want to make a quick input on your discussion, especially on the agriculture.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, caller.
Yeah, especially with the present question you're posing about agriculture.
Yes.
And I must commend you guys. I think you have one of the better podcasts coming out of the Federation in recent times, and I must applaud you guys in terms of varying the presenters that you bring to the fore, especially the politicians. So,
thank you very much.
With respect to so keep up the good work, guys.
Enough respect.
And don't be intimidated. I know you guys are not intimidated, so, but I just want to know that.
Of course.
You guys know that there's some of us who have your back.
I appreciate it. Good to know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
agriculture.
Yes.
But I want to ask the leader, the PAM at the moment, is there a land use policy that is there presently in both St. Kitts and Nevis? Because if you don't have that, you ain't saying nothing. Okay, number one. I am aware, because I'm an older person now, this thing about agricultural diversification has been bandied about over the decades, much longer than you guys and the TV are. I could tell you that. Yet, I am aware that some attempts by various administrations to kind of show up agriculture has been attempted. And I was glad to hear you talk about land tenure, Madam Brookes. But land tenure can't come unless you have a policy in terms of the land use. Number one, that's basic. And I could tell you, back even in the 80s, prior to when we became independent, there was an attempt to start to diversify. But because there was no policy in place, as administrations change, the goalposts moved. I could tell you there are places in St. Kitts, and I'm talking St. Kitts specifically, where some attempts were made, for example, to introduce feeder roads to farmers who are in the mountainside. That policy and that plan was abandoned when administration changed. People who started to want to do agriculture, including our former Prime Minister, he was in a previous administration who set out to destroy some farmers. And he's been hailed as being a good economist, but he didn't see the need for that farmer to survive. The farmer, of course, did he survive the onslaught? So I am asking the question, does your party right now have a plan in place to make sure that agriculture gets started on the right footing, whatever it is, whether it's the rice cultivation? And by the way, that was tried back in the 80s to cultivate rice, and it was abandoned because there was a need for rice in the whole sub-region. Bananas, and you guys talked about it. But that was my main question. Land tenure must be presumed to come after a land use policy. Thank you very much for your patience, guys.
Thank you, Carla.
Take care.
From my recollection, Carla, I think there is a land use policy, but I think the problem is enforcing it. And that is something that has been causing a problem for farmers. And one of our party's commitment is to basically strengthen and respect the agricultural zoning. We must make sure that we establish a working group on land coordination to resolve any conflicts. I think a number of farmers have received letters recently in terms of relocating. They have farmed on these lands for years, and so now you're asking the farmers to relocate. We must, as a PAM government, we must ensure that any policy that is in place is respected, enforced, and it must be used to promote sustainable growth and food security. I know before the caller call in, the issue was about the loans and stuff that Christoph Harbour and them are getting. PAM's solution is to shift the investment focus, make sure that the focus guarantees national stability. We must have a dedicated agricultural fund, one that can help to ensure that there is agricultural modernization and resilience. The CBI revenues can assist with that. External grants can assist with that. Our local banks can assist with that. And so if there is a dedicated agricultural fund, we will be able to help our farmers to invest in better equipment and technology, whether it is irrigation or hydroponics or cold storage. And so we must shift the investment focus, look at agriculture as an economical industry, one that helps our food security, and by making sure that if there is not a land use policy, that the one that is in place, if there's one in place, that it is utilized to the benefits, and we need to stop this debt forgiveness kind of thing for foreign investors. Look at investing in agriculture, not just as a loan, but something that you have guaranteed returns. You're going to reduce your food import bill. You're going to have local job creation. The wealth is going to stay within our federation. Food security. In the event of a hurricane or some natural disaster, we wouldn't have a disruption in our food supply chain. So we have to get better at securing our nation, not just on yachts and villas, but let us use the soil that we have here to feed our people and build our nation.
Yes, definitely.
Question.
Definitely.
Yes, sir.
No, I was just saying, as I listen to, Miss Brooks, she's making me feel like I wanted to be the Prime Minister just now, and like I said, if you don't live up to these words that you are saying here, just as much as I want you to be based on how you're sounding, it will be the same venom that will be coming your way.
Which constituency you in? Which constituency you in? I got to come on in that constituency.
We're gonna be well, I'm in St. James's actually. I'm originally from St. James's area. So that's where Mervyn is from as well. But
yes, sir, we have another call coming in. Let me take this call.
Mervyn the singer?
Yeah, that talented singer guy.
Caller, good evening.
Hold on, caller, yes.
Yes, good evening, Bankie and Yahsonn and the guests.
Yes, good evening.
Questions. For the guests, I just wanted to maybe clarify and maybe say something about a recent protest that she had by herself.
Yes.
And there was some chatter that she didn't have the support from her party there at that event protest stand in or stand up, but she did. I just wanted to clarify that. We see the big chatter for weeks now, months now, being the SSC and the Destiny Project, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would she propose to stop that Destiny Project? I want to get a synopsis on how she would propose to stop it, because we see, like Yahsonn spoke about the numbers of the government and the CCM backbenchers in Parliament. So any tabling of a bill to repeal is more likely it's not going to happen. So if the masses of the people is pushing back on that Destiny Project, especially, how would she propose to stop that? And lastly, does she see any the unity concept? Does she see that unity concept will be resurrected, and will she be a part of it? And I'll leave it there. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Carla.
Yeah. Before Ms. Brookes respond, I just wanna inform the caller. I don't know if he called in if he got in a little bit late, but two of the questions for sure I know she answered. One in relation to the CCM are joining up with the parties, and she spoke to her position on the SSZ as well. So yes, Carla, I would suggest that you probably after the show take some time and go back and listen, because we're almost at the end, and so it would take a bit for her to go back through responding to that. So it's not that we don't want to answer your question, but if you do go back and listen, you will recognize that those questions were answered. So I'm sorry if you really got in a little bit late, but you can still answer, what you wanted to respond.
Quickly to answer the one about the protest. No,
yes.
The protest was last week, Tuesday.
Okay.
I was not having a protest as PAM, because I stay of the view that this SSC thing is not politics. This is not politics. I am a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. I am an attorney who understands legislation. I am a mother who have children whose future can be affected. And yes, I happen to be the leader of PAM. And so it was not a protest being held by PAM. Natasha Brookes, as the leader of PAM, the mother, the attorney, the citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis, needed to do something. I was traveling the very afternoon, and I said I needed to do something before I go to send a next message in relation to the SSC, SSZ, because this engine of corruption must be repealed. Not that I don't have my party's support in relation to the protest. I was doing a one-woman demonstration, because I decided if times you have to show people you're going to fight for them alone, you have to show them. This is not about me trying to have that was not me having a political protest. That was me leading a campaign for repeal against the betrayal of the public trust in relation to the SSZ. And just as the host said, I think I would have answered the questions before in relation to unity and also my position in relation to but I am willing to have those discussions with you, Carla. If at any time you feel that you want to reach out to me, my number is 663-1060.
Yes. And Ms. Brookes, this conversation, I suppose, or we will say true conversation, because we're not conning anybody here. But this true conversation has been going so interesting, and we have captivated the people so much that 2 hours have gone, and we haven't even realized that we have exceeded the 2 hours, because even though we didn't have a lot of callers, we did have a lot of exchanges on the platform. So I guess after the show you'll be able to look and see some of the exchanges. We would have had seemingly some opposition, so to speak, the way the comments are looking. Some, were coming from maybe, people support, the Labour Party, and then you had some who came in to interject and so on and so forth. And we do like that kind of engagement. Usually, sometimes callers and people on the wall, sometimes when we do have these type of guests, Sometimes we really don't get to go through some of the comments and so on because we do have our own questions as well. And, the callers, and sometimes there might be a need to interject or, follow up on a response that is given and so on. But we hope still, though, that even some of your comments, were not responded to, and you might not have gotten, your comments read and so on, that we truly appreciate your participation. And we hope that we were able to answer some of your questions that you may have had, even though, you might not have gotten through. Bankie, you wanted to say something?
No, see if we could get in some of the comments before Miss Greg go. See how much you can squeeze in some of the comments, a few of them.
Okay. So let's see. On the YouTube. Okay, so it's okay. So this person is saying it's interesting, but PAM had the legislation for 2 weeks before it was debated in Parliament, and their representative decided not to even show up. Ask Shanny why PAM said nothing during the debate. Okay, so that was answered. Good night, Bankie and Yahsonn. Keep up the good works. Why is PAM so eager for an election if they don't have candidates in place? Remember that PAM removed personal income tax on the rich and spread the taxes to everyone. That is why we have a VAT on goods and consumption instead of an income. Okay, I guess that might be taking me back into history class a bit. Come on, Eskeners, because of Douglas' mismanagement, he implemented the VAT. For the quest, 7,000 to 10,000 citizens proposed to come into the Destiny Project on Nevis. Are those persons going to be able to vote? And what can she say about how it would affect the political arena? So I guess that would be the last question there. I would have had to log out and log back in on the Facebook. There were some issues, and so I would have missed a lot of the exchanges there. SKN, sorry,
That's cool.
Speech says SKN needs to pick up from where PAM dropped off in 1990s. From since then to now, there has been nothing new put in place to improve the growth in the Federation. Tell me one new implementation put in place to grow income for the country. And that's one of the final comments that we do have there. And like we said, without you people, and whether it's on the Facebook wall, on the YouTube wall, and even though sometimes we don't get to the comments during the show, we do definitely sometimes go back and read the comments and sometimes try to respond if necessary, depending on what it is, if we can. And we suggest that our guests can do that as well. You can eventually go back and listen to, and if there's something that you need to respond to, that you could respond and keep the conversation going. So we want to remind you also to go on over to our YouTube platform, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can always be updated whenever we have a new show. We also want to invite you, Miss Brookes, and others to join us tomorrow for another edition of Medicine for the People, as we host with our guest, Dr. Charles McWilliams of Jade Herbal Clinic there on Nevis, Newcastle, Nevis. And then on Friday, we have another edition of Everything Agriculture, where we focus mainly on agriculture, but sometimes other topics are highlighted if needs be. But we want to say thank you very much, Ms. Brookes. I hope that you have felt so comfortable that you are willing to be back, whenever we so, desire for you to come back and, share more and be a part of the platform. So we thank you very much for obliging. And you know, like we said, we do look forward to having you back if you so desire.
It was my pleasure, and don't hesitate to ask me. I will definitely be back. I felt most welcome and like I was amongst family.
Yes,
That's the
yeah,
feeling.
man.
That's what we want. We want our guests to feel comfortable. Some people don't worry about those who say we asking all these tough questions and so on. We try to make you as comfortable as possible. And yes, we would ask the questions. Um, and you know, it's all about seeking to get the information out to the people, as much information out as possible. And yes, we don't butter it up. We can, you know, we call a spade, and we ask what we need to ask. Hopefully, if you're not, as one of the Calypsonians are saying, thin-skinned, you know, then you know we can work with you. You know, I mean, it's like that. So give thanks. Want to say thanks to the Real Entertainment Network team for you guys to be giving us the extra time as well. You know, to go through this, and we look forward to having more exciting shows here on this platform. Bankie, your final comments.
Yes, I just want to thank the guests for coming on and being a good sport. I mean, she hold her own as a leader, and I just want to big up on that. Greatly appreciate her taking time out to choose and choosing Real Entertainment Network and the topics, and appreciate all the callers and those who listen and give their kind words that they appreciate this show, and we really appreciate you guys as listeners and viewers and who give you all sentiments or you all appreciate what we're doing, because we're not getting paid. We're just doing our civil duty by contribution to it in making it a better society where any political parties can come here and give, and they're welcome to give their views, and that's what it's all about. Each one content where no one can be objective and all is respected, and that is what all the shows here on Real Entertainment is all about. Making a difference one step at a time with one guest at a time. So, Miss Brookes, great. Really appreciate you coming on, and definitely I'll keep in touch with you and bringing you on in the new year and see what your plan is, definitely. And thanks again to all those who choose Real Entertainment Network on a weekly basis, those in St. Kitts, in the United States, wherever you are around the world. We definitely couldn't been doing all these shows without you on a weekly basis. So also remember, if you want to advertise your business, we definitely can make that arrangement. So again, thanks, and definitely looking forward for tomorrow reasoning with Dr. Charles Macmillan from the medicine for you, and then choose Friday, as I said, everything agriculture show. Yahsonn?
Yes, give thanks, Miss Brookes, once more, and give thanks to the Real Entertainment Network. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. And, you know, be sure to join us tomorrow, Wednesday at 7 o'clock. You know, we try to speak about our herbal medicine and try to, as much as possible, tell you how to help to prevent and what, you know, natural plants and things that you can do to help you stay healthier and thus be more productive citizens here in St. Kitts and Nevis and around the world. So thank you all very much. See you guys tomorrow on another edition of Medicine for the People.
Thank you.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
Beat the summer heat. Come and get your carambola, star fruit, make very nice drink. Come pick them yourself. All the trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Mine's the last stop. A whole shopping bag only $10. Half a shopping bag you pay $5. If you get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to waste. Let's go, people.
And I felt like it's that you was me instead. I wanted to rock with you, roll with you. Said you was my baby girl, then you left me too. Everything was kosher, perfect like a poster. Then I got word that you wanna lead a picture. Off with somebody else, off with the jerk. With the shame on me, I really thought that it could work. Off with somebody else, off with the loser. Shame on me, I really thought we had a. Lately I'll be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I be having conversations